Sorry about that. Good afternoon. I'm Laura Zervos, and I'm a registered dietitian and licensed nutritionist. And I'm so happy to be here today to present our summer session of the Lending Hearts Nutrition Program. And today's topic is summer meals that sizzle. And what we tried to do today was to have some really healthy options for you for the summertime. So we're not using our ovens, we're not heating our homes, not using extra heat to make our houses even warmer, but to try to make as many things as possible that don't require baking, that come together real nicely, but they're also nutritious for us. We have really four nice things today. We have a no-bake lemon berry bar, which I really like that. We're going to make a crust, do some yogurt, some berries, and then freeze it. So that's a nice little option to have, and that is nicely carb balanced. Our other recipe is another cold soup today. We have an avocado and cucumber soup that's very nice. It has some dill in it, so I think you'll find that's to be refreshing and also hydrating. So we'll talk more about the nutrition details when we get to that. We also had a grilled shrimp and lettuce wrap with a mango salsa. And I took the liberty, I'm looking for my shrimp. I took the liberty of grilling the shrimp beforehand because I can't run back and forth to the kitchen and the outside while we are in session. So, but I did grill those beforehand. I recommend that you do that too to keep your home cool. But then the way that it comes together is really nutritious, really cool. And I think it's something you'll enjoy. And our last ingredient is a Mediterranean chickpea salad. You've seen many versions of this recently, but it's a good one because it's chickpeas, feta, cucumbers, tomatoes. So you have all those wonderful ingredients from the Mediterranean come together to provide us a nicely carb balanced and refreshing dish that you could use for that night, and you could also put that in like a meal prep type of container and have it throughout the week. It makes a really nice side to anything that you're having. Or a main dish with some type of protein added to it, and just to round that out. But it's a really nice choice, and I will make sure I highlight all the nutritional details as we go along. But let's get started. Again, if you've come to any of our classes, you know that we always try to get as much in as possible, and today's no different. So let's get started, and thanks again for joining me. I'm excited to be here. So our first item, I think we'll do that our bar first. And I went ahead and I lined a dish with parchment paper, just like an 8x8, 9x9. You could use whatever you have on hand. I had just added just a tiny bit of oil to the bottom just so my parchment paper will stick. And let me get my ingredients for that. I'm going to put my pan to the side. We're going to turn all that together. And again, lots of options here. Let me show you my ingredients. I'm going to do a cup of rolled oats, a half cup of almond butter. Of course, you could use peanut butter in this. You could use honey or maple syrup. Today, we're going to use maple syrup. And our topping, any berry that you like. I chose blueberries because I just happen to have them on hand. Of course, plain Greek yogurt. You could use whatever percent fat that you like. I just happen to have 0%. Then we're going to add some lemon zest and a little bit of honey to that as well. So let's get started. First, we're just going to mix the crust ingredients, and then we're going to press them into the pan. So let me grab another little dish here, and I'm going to put my oats in first. And then, like I said, you could use whatever type of nut butter that you want. I'm choosing almond butter, and I like almonds because they are perfectly balanced naturally, meaning that they have the carbohydrate minus the dietary fiber is very close to that protein amount. And that is called carb balance. And the same with the fat too. So it's an excellent source of carbs, fiber, and protein. And we're going to add our honey, and I'm not going to measure that out. I'm going to do this because sometimes we tend to lose more honey in the process of measuring it out. So I'm just going to get a nice little scoop in there. Tablespoon. I'm going to grab just a little bit more. And again, if you prefer maple syrup instead, you could also use that. Either one will work just fine. Okay, we're going to go ahead and give that a stir. And this is going to make our crust. And if you remember, we did a parfait at our lab class, and what we did was we sauteed some almonds and oats together and made a crust of that. Let's see. You just want to keep on rolling these around. Just press this into our pan. Gonna get easier if we get it into a ball. Let's try to do that first. There we go. And there's so many versions. I encourage you to, try different things, different nuts, different nut butters, different grains. You could certainly do oatmeal. That's probably the easiest one that comes to mind. You could also use a rice with this too. You could also prepare rice and dry it and use this. We see that in a lot of our bars too. So let's switch this around so you could see my dish lined with parchment. Okay, and what we're gonna do is we're just gonna add this nice mixture. I don't want my parchment to move, and there we go. See how I have it all in one bowl? I encourage you to get that all together in one bowl first before we go to spread it around. And you're gonna have to get in here and hold your parchment paper down and just try to work it very slowly. Sometimes I like to take my spatula, and I'm going to grab that right now. Sometimes an oiled spatula will work really well too. A little oil on our spatula right there. I'm just going to press it in there nice and even. Takes a little bit of time to work it, but as it warms up to just working with it with your hands, which we may have to get in there and do, it'll spread very nicely. Oh, and just be patient, just keep working it. I'm going to try, it doesn't have to be perfect, but we do want to try to get that base covered. So I'm going to keep working that here. It's like a little bit in this space. I'm going to take that off and put it over here. That looks pretty good. Okay. There we go. Okay. Now we're going to take our yogurt and our honey. So I'm just going to mix those up. Let me get my other bowl here. And I had taken my yogurt out, so it's been sitting out, so it's at room temperature. So it's really, it really works well right now. And we're just going to add a little bit of honey in this. Not a lot. Probably about a teaspoon. And also going to put some vanilla extract in here too. And we're also going to do our lemon zest. And that's really going to give it a nice flavor here. We're just getting the lemon, we're just getting the oil out of the lemon. You could see it spraying, and then we might just get a few of these little peels here too. It adds a lot. Okay. We're gonna stir this all together. On. So we just have our crust and we have our yogurt with our honey. The crust is almond butter and oats and a small amount of honey or maple syrup. Today we used honey. And in our yogurt mixture, we have a little lemon zest, some honey and vanilla. And we're just going to spread that over our crust. And then we're going to add our berries to this. You know, what's nice about these is the yogurt provides some beneficial bacteria, it's probiotics. And then we have the berries, which add some natural sweets. And we know that they're loaded with antioxidants like the anthocyanins. Anytime you see the blue color, you know that there's anthocyanins, which are present, which are really great. Clean up our cells in our body. And it's just a cool treat. The combination, so we've got some protein, we've got fiber, and we've got some healthy fat. So it's just a really nice dish that comes together nicely. You could freeze this, you could put in the refrigerator. The website, I'll have all the directions. This one does go in the freezer. And then you could cut it into bars, but you could see it from the side here. The the um the crust, our almond butter crust. So let me set this aside and we'll get working on our next one. And the next thing we're going to do is our Mediterranean chickpea salad. And that's a lot of fun. Let me get the ingredients for that one, move our honey and everything aside from this one. So this is nice. You see a lot of variations of this one online recently, and it's really easy to do. And it's one of my favorites. Let me just do a camera so you could see what I'm doing here. And we're going to take our chickpeas. We have about 1 can of chickpeas, and I rinsed those and drained them. And then I also have a cup of cherry tomatoes. These ones are just a little bit bigger, but we're going to just cut those in half. You could cut them in half any way that you want. Some of these little bigger ones, I'm going to do quarters. But this is a nice dish. I like this because it's a plant-based protein. We have a lot of fiber coming from our garbanzo beans. We have fiber also in our vegetables. Don't forget about the fiber that's present in vegetables. And then we also have some, we have the fermented dairy again with our feta cheese. We have the olives, a good source of healthy fats. And then of course we have lemon juice, olive oil, and oregano and cucumber. So we know that's nice and hydrating too. The parsley and the oregano that we have in here, just some good anti-inflammatory compounds that are present in those spices. And the combination here of the fiber and the protein, it keeps our blood sugar stable. So that's a nice combination. This is a really nice main dish or side. We have our And again, lots of variations on this one. If you don't like, you could add bell pepper to it. You could add other vegetables. I like just keeping it the simple ones that we find in our Greek salad. And just, I always like to keep something like the similar size here. I don't want to have big chunks of cucumber when my tomatoes and my onions are a little bit finer. And just give it a nice little chop. Yeah. Right. And then we're also going to add our red onion, just about a quarter cup. Feta and black olives. I think I'm going to cut my black olive in half too. About a quarter cup, actually closer to a third cup of black olives, but I think I'm the seeded or the pitted rather Kalamata. I think I'm going to cut them in half just so they're go a little bit further. That's going to look really nice too. This is nice and colorful. And you could also experiment with trying other herbs in here as well. You could also try, I'm going to do oregano. You could also do something with basil, whatever your preference is. But these complement each other very nicely. So we're going to actually put this aside and we're going to just put a few things together. We have our olive oil and our lemon juice and a little bit of red wine vinegar too. And I'm going to just whisk that around. And we're just going to pour this over top. And add our oregano. Just did this oregano before class, so there's a lot of and again, this makes a nice base for your side. It smells delicious too. And then you could always salt and pepper to taste. So that's our second dish. Set this aside. And next, we're going to make our avocado and cucumber soup. So let's get that. I'm going to bring the blender over here and show you all of everything that I have prepped. And this is similar to one that we did last week. I'm just going to show you the ingredients first. We have cucumber, we have olive oil, we also have some fresh dill, we have an avocado just to make it a little bit thicker, and we have lemon juice and salt and pepper. And we just have a little bit of water just in case we need to thin it. And you could always add a little bit of garlic to this one too. I think that would be really nice. But right now we're just going to do these. We're going to do our cucumber, which I've already peeled and cut. I'm going to give it another cut too, so it's not too, um, so it's not, doesn't take too long to pulse here. We're just going to add all these ingredients too, and that's going to help if we add everything here to it. If we add our oil, And our juice. Down here. And remember with our avocado, just give it a wash. Always want to do that beforehand, just so we're not introducing any of the bacteria that is in here. And I think we're in luck. I think we have a beautiful one. Just peel that off. And it's peeling very nicely. So I'll just put that in there. And also I'm going to give this a cut too. See. I don't know if you've ever tried it, but it's a good idea too, you could always add avocado to your protein smoothie or your breakfast smoothie. If you're making a protein drink, it's a really great way to add some healthy fat. And it also makes it really creamy. So if you're using like an almond milk or some type of milk that really thins it out, it's a great idea. It just gives it that extra creaminess. Okay, and we're also going to add our yogurt to this too. Let me get that in there. And we're just going to give that a whirl. We may need to, we'll see how much water we may need to add to this as well. I'm going to add a little bit to get started. We're good to go. It might need a little bit of thinning. Oh, it has a good consistency here. I think I'm going to keep it the way it is. And then maybe when I would thicken it right before, I would thin it down right before I eat it. So let me just get a bowl so you can see that. Oh, this has a beautiful consistency. How nice this came out. That's going to be delicious. We're going to have to give this a little, see what we think it needs here, if it does need additional. Oh, that's really flavorful. It is really good. I think you'll like that. It has just a nice balance to it. It's the avocado, the fat in the avocado, when it's blended like that, makes it nice and airy. So it's very light and, hate to say fluffy for our soup, but it's very light and airy. So it's very nice. And we'll just set that aside. And I think that dill was an excellent addition. Anytime you have cucumber, dill is always going to go with it very nicely. So let's set this one aside. Okay. I'll move this over and then we'll get started on our next one. Okay, so our next one was a grilled shrimp. And like I said, I took the liberty of doing that before class. You could marinate your shrimp any way that you wanted to, but what I did was lime juice, olive oil, some garlic, and some smoked paprika. Very little salt and pepper. I rarely do salt when I'm doing the shrimp because remember, shrimp doesn't have a whole lot of connective tissue, and you don't want to let it marinate too long either because it really denatures the protein in the shrimp, and it really cooks it almost. So you could almost eat it like that anyhow. So just 15 to 20 minutes is the best way to marinate our shrimp and shellfish. And then I grilled it just about 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes on each side, and just got it a nice little bit brown here. So I brought that in, and we're actually going to make a little mango salsa. So we're going to have a nice mango salsa, and then we're going to serve this in a nice little leaf of butter lettuce. So let me just get the stuff that we need for our mango salsa. And in our mango salsa, I love it. And we just talked about it recently. And I think it makes a really nice addition. It goes well, really well with fish. And this is a really, if you have a picky eater at home, sometimes starting them with something that you know that they do like and adding it to the other, add it to the other item that may be questionable for them, it might increase their acceptance. So starting out with something like a mango salsa on somebody that's not 100% crazy about fish, it's a really good way to introduce them to that. So it's just something to keep in mind for you. So let me adjust our camera. It's going to wash off our mangoes. Remember, they've traveled a long way, so you don't want to introduce anything that was on them. I did give them a little wash when I first brought them home, but I'm just going to rinse them off again right now. And thought I had my paper towels here. Okay, so we're just going to give them a cut. And let me show you how there's many different ways to cut the mango. And let me get another serving dish for us. We're going to use the ingredients in our mango salsa today is going to be mango, red onion, fresh, always fresh lime juice. It has to be fresh lime juice, some cilantro. We're going to add some red pepper today just for a little bit extra color, but always lime, always cilantro. So to do our mango, move this aside. A couple different ways you could do it. You can use a mango slicer, and you could also you could peel it, and you could also cut it in half. So let's try, well, first we'll do our cutting it half. And we're just going to give it a cut all the way around. See if we can get that. I don't know if I'll be able to get that. I'm just going to peel it. We'll do it with our next one. Forgot to get out my mango slicer. If I see it handy, we'll do that for the next one. I don't want to go rifling through everything. It's a really nice time of the year for the mangoes. And you want to make sure that when you choose your mango, it is always a little bit of a gamble, if you will. You want them to feel a little bit, you want them to feel firm, but you see it's just giving a little bit here. So that's what we're looking for. And I love, let's see if I have my mango cutter handy here. And yes, I do. So let's try this one too. So just take off this little sticker here, the produce sticker. And you want to hold your mango on the cutting board. Let's move our cutlery. And you're just going to try to line it up where you think that stone is. And then you're just going to give it some pressure here. There we go. Okay. Then we just slice it out, and then the stone is here. So it gets most of the flesh off the stone. And so it's a lot less space. So when you do it this way, because we'll have to cut this one. So for this one, we're just going to go like this, and then we'll dice it. Okay, that side. This one, so what we do is we take the mango in our hand and we just gently, with a sharp knife, just go and just insert the knife until you get to reach the peel, and we're just going to score it. Okay, so we made a bunch of scores that way, and then we're going to do a bunch this way. All the way in. All the way in and all the way in. Okay, then we'll get our bowl, and we should be able to just pop this out like so. So then we get, this is probably the most efficient way to do them. Then you just take your knife and go against the skin again, and we get our slices, our cubes rather. And if you want them a little bit smaller, you could certainly cut them again. But there you go. That's the probably the easiest way to get it out and also to get everything off of there. One piece here with that. And again, we'll take this and we'll just give it a couple of scores. And what's nice about this is or this dish in general, is the shrimp has a nice, provides a nice lean protein for us. The shrimp, like I said, it was low in or high in connective tissue, or low in connective tissue. That's why it takes to the marinade. But it's also, it has some cholesterol, but it's very low in fat. And sometimes people mistakenly believe that they can't have shrimp because it will cause their cholesterol to go up. But it's actually those foods that are high in saturated fat. And what are they? They're the ones that are hard at room temperature, like butter, like, say, for example, we were to make a pulled pork dish and we we went down to the table, we ate it at the table, and then you leave your pulled pork on the counter and you go back for seconds and there's that white fat that is all over the pork, and that is saturated fat. That's the fat that is hard at room temperature, present in full fat dairies and red meat, to a lesser degree chicken, but it's still there. It's found also in the skins of those as well. Okay. So we have our mango that way, and we will finish slicing up this one as well. So however you like to cut it. And the benefits of mango, of course, it's going to have some vitamin A because of the dark yellow color. Mango is also, when we're talking about smoothies, mango is also excellent in smoothies. Gives it a lot of color, gives a lot of flavor, and just the right amount of sweetness. It's So we have the protein from the shrimp, and it'll help keep us full. We have vitamin C, because of the mango and antioxidants. So this is really low carb and high flavor, because we're going to be putting this in a lettuce wrap too. And then we're also going to be getting some of the omega-3 fatty acids that we talk about all the time from the shrimp. Okay. We're just going to go ahead and add these to our bowl, and then we're going to go ahead and cut up our red pepper. And we don't need a whole lot of this, just about a quarter cup. But this will add a lot of flavor. And again, this adds a lot of antioxidants, a lot of vitamin C. And you could use any color you want. I would use either the orange, the red, or the yellow versus the green bell pepper, because that's just going to impart a different flavor. Okay. And then we're going to add some red onion. Let me see if I have more red onion here. We just want a nice fine dice of this because it's just going to add a little bit of, see how fine we're going? Ready to, since I'm at the end of my onion here. So just a nice fine dice. right, and then we have our cilantro. Okay, and then we're gonna add some of our lime juice. And we're gonna probably do about, probably a whole lime at least. So let me get my juicer. This is really gonna bring out the flavor. There's nothing like fresh lime juice versus like something you might find in a bottle. My limes are really little today. They're not key limes, but they're very small. I'm gonna use an extra one here too. So when we think about those omega fatty acids, good for our brain health, good for our heart health. And a shrimp is an excellent source, as long as so is cod, salmon, tuna, mackerel, herring. And if you think about it too, it doesn't have to be expensive. We should do one of our classes on mackerel and herring, because I think a lot of people are intimidated with those ones, and they're really affordable and excellent sources of the omega-3 fatty acids, and a really good part of your diet. Okay, so now we have everything in there. We'll go ahead and give this a stir. A little bit more of my red onion. Didn't want to add all of it, but I think we need it. Okay. So now what we're going to do, I cooked our shrimp. We're going to put our shrimp in the bowl, and then we're going to, or shrimp in our lettuce cups, and then we'll serve them. So let's, nice little serving dish here. Get our lettuce, and today I used a butter lettuce because I thought it might make a nice, like a nice little serving dish, so to speak. So we'll just put them out here. Hopefully you could see that. Some big ones in here. So really this should make about, for 4 people, and I would say 2 wraps each. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do 2 per plate. So that's 1 serving, 2 servings, just so you could get an idea for portion. I want to make sure it's in the right portion for you. Because I do provide all the nutrition information for you. I want to make sure that it is, that you get a good representation of what that looks like. And the problem is that, our shrimp is going to be the right serving size in our mango salsa, but these lettuce leaves are not all the same. So we will try our best. Set that aside. So we have our lettuce, we have our mango, and we have our shrimp. So our recipe today called for 1 pound of shrimp, and I like to use, of course, it's nice to eat a bigger shrimp, but when we're having them in something like this, I think a smaller one is going to work just as well. Let me move my cutting board out of the way for us. our soup down so we have enough room. So again, when we think about that Mediterranean eating pattern, we think about the lean proteins, 5 servings of fruits and vegetables per day, emphasis on vegetables because they are lower carbohydrate, higher protein. They give us the biggest bang for our buck because you could have the most of them for the least calories, depending on what your calorie goals are too. And I should also say lean proteins and serve 2 to 3 servings of fish per week. So we have our fish here today too. So we have some fruit, we have our lettuce, we have our spices that give us those good anti-inflammatory compounds. Like we used oregano and we're also using cilantro. Both of those are excellent sources. And we also use the paprika in the grilling of the shrimp. So there's another one too. And garlic. The garlic was in our soup. Also yogurt, we had yogurt in a couple of these dishes. We have them in our bar and we also have them in our soup. So fermented dairy is a big part of the Mediterranean diet. And what else? Good grains. We don't have a whole lot of grains today. Last class we did the farro. But we also had nuts, but we do have the oats in this one and we do have the berries. So we have a lot of different things going on here nutrition wise. So let's get started here. I'm going to try to divide this equally so you could see what a portion size looks like. And I'm not going to get out my scale. We're not going to go to that degree, but I'm going to just look here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shrimp. Let's just try here. I'll show you can see so you don't have to watch me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shrimp. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shrimp. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We may have to cut it down a little bit, huh? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. We have 2 more to go. So just take 1 off everybody. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Now they're equal. Now they're good. So about 5 shrimp on all of them. And then we'll put our stuff on. Get different. This. Have about 1, little less than a half cup on each. 2, 3. But I love to have the mango salsa for, I like to put it on cod, for fish tacos, in addition, sometimes we do our cilantro coleslaw. I love that one too. That's another one. Fresh lime juice, fresh cilantro, fresh jalapenos. Oh, forgot we could have done jalapenos in here too. I love doing jalapenos in my mango salsa. And another one. And our last one. So it's about 5 shrimp. And now that's the ones I used were, I want to say 24.30 per pound. So it was a smaller shrimp. So about 5 of those and about a half cup of salsa, mango salsa. So that is our portion size. And don't those look beautiful? Wouldn't that be nice to have on your summer menu? So again, something really light, refreshing. Sometimes we don't feel like eating in the summer because things are so hot. We're not thinking chili and soups. We're thinking light and fresh salads, things that are going to refresh us, things that are going to hydrate us, like our soup too. Anything with cucumber is going to be hydrating. So just a good addition to our eating pattern. And we want to think about that too. We talk about this all the time, is that we want those days. Sometimes I will hear that, I really went off and I had this or that, or, whatever. It was my birthday and I indulged on these types of things. But remember, it's about your 7 day rolling pattern. No one day is going to make the difference. It's that continual good choices, and that's that continual part of your pattern that's really going to make a difference. And when you have those one-off days like a birthday or a celebration, when those are the exception and not part of your pattern, really they don't even show up on your eating pattern, right? It's just a blip, and you get back to your healthy choices the next day and you'll be fine. Just like if you thought about it, this comparison I like to use too is just like if you were to exercise for 2 hours one day, right? It's really not going to have effect on your overall wellness. It's that consistent daily getting activity, not necessarily killing it every day or going to exertion, but just moving your body every day and not being sedentary. And sedentary is a risk factor now, so we don't want to be sedentary. And that is, if you have a sedentary job, if you're in a cubicle, or if you're in some type of situation where you're sitting at a desk all day, try to find ways to incorporate movement into your day. Try to, take the steps instead of the elevator. Try walking to your car. Try making your car further. Try getting off at the bus stop, a bus stop further away. There's many ways to incorporate steps. Doing your own grocery shopping. Now we're picking up the groceries, not physically walking around the store, and you're missing so much. If you have small children or you just can't get there, I certainly understand that. But if you can, I encourage you to go into the grocery store and read labels, because that makes all the difference, and pick out your own produce so you can pick out the right mangoes and the perfect avocado. And because they don't always last, and you want to get them at their peak of season. I always try to put things in class that are at their peak season. And right now, the cucumber we had today was out of my garden. The fresh herbs were out of my garden. The mangoes were certainly in season, and so were the avocados. And that's when they're going to be at their most reasonable price and their peak freshness and their peak nutrition. So let's go over all of our dishes. I will get them out so we could go over them and go over the nutritional content. My soup, and our salad. I'm gonna put our salad in another dish here so we can really take a look at it. And where's our berry bar? Now let's just look at this. Let's see if we can make a cut into our bar just so you could see what that looks like. Um, you know, so healthy summer meals, they don't have to be complicated, right? With a few smart ingredients and no need to put on the oven. We just did the grill today. You could create some dishes that are cooling, comfortable, and full of health benefits. Lots of fiber. Think about the fiber that's in our oats, the fiber that is in our chickpeas, the fiber there's some in our mango here, some in our red pepper, and there's definitely some in our avocado soup. And I should say, when we should probably put a little bit more. Did put some lemon in this one, but if you're going to have this a few days later, make sure you put some lemon on the top so it doesn't go brown on you. But definitely a lot of fiber in here. And we have our no bake treat with the blueberries. Each recipe is a step towards balanced eating that still feels like a treat, right? So these things still feel fun and exciting. Healthy eating doesn't have to be boring if you choose a variety of ingredients. And look how colorful we were today. And that's what gets us excited about eating. And I think we start eating with our eyes. So when we are excited and when it's a feast for the eyes, it's usually a feast for our body as well. And we want to think about, we have all these opportunities, if you think about it as not restriction, but opportunities to nourish our body through healthy eating and through our lifestyle choices. Where there's an opportunity at every meal, at every snack, to really put something good. And you're making, as you eat, think about it, you're making an investment in yourself and in your health. So I think it's really important to remember, that it's worth it to take the extra time to do some of these things, to prep ahead. The more things that we could do ahead of time as well, when we're talking about which one was I saying? The chickpea dish, it can be made ahead, and that's really nice too. The more things that you could make ahead, I think the more successful you'll be in your eating pattern too, because as we get busy with our daily jobs and all of our responsibilities and all the places that we have to be, it's difficult. And that sometimes people rely on takeout, or something like that, when really you could have, and there's nothing wrong with takeout, but we do know that restaurant food is, good restaurants too. I'm not picking on just the fast food restaurants. Restaurants in general are typically 30% higher in saturated fat, sodium, and calories. And we do know also that eating out and processed foods are also higher in the omega-6 fatty acids. And we're looking to enrich our diets in the omega-3 fatty acids. So that's why we want to have these choices. That's why we want to have fish. That's why we want to have the almonds and walnuts and chia seeds and those kind of things. Sorry, we got a little fly in here. But that's why we want to go for those things too, to boost the omega-3 fatty acids versus the omega-6 fatty acids. So all of that takes careful planning and just doing a few things ahead of time, like maybe perhaps, cooking the protein in batch. Maybe you cook your chicken, maybe several portions of chicken or several portions of rice. Or what I like to do is several sheet pans of vegetables. I like to roast those in the oven at the beginning of the week. It makes it very easy to stay on track for the rest of the week, because you have your vegetable base right there. You could add something else to it to be nice and balanced. You always want to have your carbohydrates for your, to fuel your body, and for energy, we want our protein to go towards, building some muscle, and we have our fat for so many things, for transporting fat soluble vitamins, for hormones, for insulation, so many things that are important for for all three of the macronutrients. And then we also need things like to have our fiber to be high. And that's, the Mediterranean eating pattern. If you are eating that way, you will meet the targets that you're looking to achieve. And keeping, the only thing that you have to really watch out for is that sugar level, because even fruit, too much fruit can end up to a lot of sugar at the end of the day. And while fruit is wonderful for us, and there's many qualities, and like we said, anthocyanins in our blueberries, to keep us healthy, and all those antioxidant properties that they have. But we do know that at the end of the day, a lot of sugar can keep you from reaching your health goals. And so that's why you want to always keep an eye on that. So again, all of my recipes are going to be at laurazervis.com. Please reach out to me if you would like any of these recipes modified in any way, but they will all be on the website with a few pictures too, because you didn't get to see the shrimp being grilled. So I do have some snaps of that too, so you could go on and look. And I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope you have a great rest of your summer. See you soon. Thank you so much.